Yeah, yeah, dee, 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 dee. Hi, hi, die, 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 dee, die, die. Hello, everybody, and a good Erev Shabbos. We continue our learning of the Sfas Emes, and we're learning a part of the teaching from the Sfas Emes on Behaloscha, the Parsha Behaloscha, Taf Reish Lamed Dalid, the second teaching, and it begins like this. This is a famous line in Pirkei Avos that he begins with, and we'll use the translation here that I have from this sefer. It says, he used to say, and by the way, if you want to know who the he is, you have to go back to the beginning of the Perek. It's Reben Gamliel, son of Yehuda Hanasi. He used to say, treat his will, i.e. treat God's will, as if it were your own will, so that God will treat your will as if it were his will. This is a well-known Mishnah from Pirkei Avos. But there's a question one could ask right away. And normally we should fulfill Hashem's will with enthusiasm. But how do we know always what Hashem's will is? It seems a little, treat his will as if your own will. So it seems to point at the performance of the mitzvot. And I have a nice comment here from Rabbi Yosef Stern, who says that the Mishnah is urging us that we perform our own pursuits. Ritzoncha. So when we're doing our own pursuits, Hashem should be viewed as an equal partner. We should consider Hashem's wishes, ritzonoi, as much as even our own when we conduct our own personal affairs. Okay. Now, he goes from but of course, in the Sfas Emes, he just says, he puts it there. Kasha, my kiritzona. What does it mean? God's will. And he says we can learn what this Mishnah means from examining the beginning of this week's Parsha, where it talks about Aaron a Kohen. So let's look at the beginning of the Parsha, Parsha's Behaloscha, and it says, God spoke to Moses saying, Daber el Aaron, speak to Aaron, v'amarta alav, and say to him, Behaloscha zaneros, when you kindle the light, el mul pnei menorah, towards the face of the menorah, ya'iro shivas haneros, shall the seven lamps cast light. That's the translation in Art Scroll. It's a little awkward because the text is a little awkward. V'yase ken Aaron. And then it says, V'yase ken Aaron el mul pnei menorah. And then it says, and Aaron did towards the face of the menorah, kindle the lamps. That's the Parsha. V'nir leperush sheloi nishtane Aaron al yidei mitzvahs hadlakas haneros. And he says, I want to say, or it seems to say, Nira Lefarish, to explain this, that Aaron a Kohen was not changed through the mitzvah of lighting the candles. Aaron was chosen from all of the Jewish people, the Yos Meir, to enlighten L'Kol Bnei Israel, to bring light to the whole Jewish people, L'Kol Olam, and the whole world. When Aaron performed the mitzvah of lighting the menorah, he brought light to the Jewish people in the whole world. A person who has this kind of a koyach, this, let's call it a power, but let's even say more, this responsibility, or this is chosen for such an exalted task, one would normally expect that this would go to their head, as we would say, that they would be they would think very highly of themselves, is one way of looking at it, because they perform such an important function. and it's a shaloi nishtane, that he didn't change. But that's one way of looking at it. But another way of reading it could be is v'im ken lo haya nishtane kim haya boy shinui haya shuni gam ba'mitzvah. And he says, or you could, another way of understanding this, and then we'll get to the pasuk in the Sfas Emes, or maybe you could say that he did it the same way every time for 40 years. Lo nishtane, he didn't change at all. He did it the same way consistently. And I want to add here, maybe some days wasn't so enthusiastic. He was having lots of other pressures, but he still performed the work and he didn't change anything. Or maybe you would say that I like that idea, actually. I like that idea a lot, consistency. I really want to, that no matter, he did his job consistently. But with consistency and with, now, if he had changed, if Aaron had changed, it would have changed the mitzvah. Hayashuni gam ba'am mitzvah. If Aaron, so on one understanding, if Aaron had changed how he performed it, it would change the mitzvah. But also, if he did it with a different intention, and right, we've learned in other places how important intention is behind the mitzvah, it would have also changed the mitzvah. Ki Hashem yizbarach tziva k'mo shaya az. Hashem gave it in a certain way to do it. L'chen tzarich adam liyois bo b'chines ha'ishtavus. Now the Sfas Emes gets this idea of equanimity. A person has to be has to have equanimity of spirit. We can understand equanimity in a few ways. One could be that they don't change. No, the stock market's up, the stock market's down, but they are able to maintain a level-headedness. That's definitely one element of hishtavus. Staying level-headed, no matter what's going on in the world, having in English, they say maybe an even keel. Maybe it's good. Hishtavus also, but I want to say not changing. In other words, I want to say that whatever was going on, they're working towards consistency. They're working towards consistency. And this is, of course, a very challenging thing. Because life is complicated, and therefore things come up. But consistency, it seems to be a very praiseworthy thing. Like Aaron Cohen, he was consistent. But also, if we say it's a level of did not change, i.e., he was not swayed, and it could be also a remez to an emotional level, right? That we should try to, even whatever's going on within us, a person should endeavor to not let the circumstances of life impact them to such an extent that they're unable to have the presence of mind as on a day-to-day basis. And that takes a appreciation for looking at the big picture, right? Looking at things, looking at the bigger picture, so that you're not swayed by small or even large happenstance at that time. When things are going on, then you're able to see the bigger picture and realize that it's part of something bigger. So it's not as devastating or it doesn't throw you off your game, to use a colloquialism. And he says, and in the holy books, and the book is Keser Shem Tov. Shemavchim or b'chinas zo shel hishtavus, and we at the Madam of Dichtiv, and so then he goes into the Rashi. So if you look at the Rashi there, he brings these words. There's two words that seem to be extra. Vayais ken. Aaron got the mitzvah from his right. Daber el Aaron. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe limor. God says to Moshe, speak. So Moshe says, God told me to tell you this. And then it says, Vayas Cain, and then Aaron did it. So he wants to say that Vayas Cain, these seemingly extra words, are talking about this consistency and this unshakable devotion of Aaron. And we're going to go back to the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, that one of the ways of understanding this Mishnah to do his will as if it were your will. And he says, "Kamosha eina adam mishane atzmoi letzorech ma'asav ken adam shemuchan tami levatal atzmo leretzon yisborach oisek kol b'li shinui." He says, a person has, when a person's doing God's will, they are nullifying themselves to the will of Hashem. Shemuchan tami levatal atzmo leretzon yisborach. This is the trait that it's expounding on. V'Hashem Yisborach mishalem hakol b'mishvat mida b'mida, and measure for measure that a person is able to nullify their will to Hashem's will, they will be rewarded measure for measure from Hashem. What does this have to do with lo nishtane? Is that always placing in their mind an idea that they are working for the Eibusher, that they're doing Hashem's will. Even though Hashem is at such an elevated and is in a totally different realm than we are here on earth, right? We're not. We can't compare in any way, shape, or form Hashem to humanity. And that Hashem pours out onto creation an outpouring of vitality and blessing and life and liveliness, right? That is the lifeblood of the life force of the world. But Hashem had to mitzamtzem. If you go to Kabbalah, it explains that in order for Hashem to be in the world, as it were, Hashem had to be mitzamtzem, had to constrict himself so that he was able to be revealed. Because if Hashem had been without tzimtzum, it would have been so overwhelming that their creation wouldn't have existed. So there had to be levels of tzimtzum till Hashem, and then could be in the world. Al im kol zeh lezeh adam shabat legamre alav oiser tzon yizbarach kumel shui. Im kol zeh lezeh ha'adam shabat. So, there's a way that we also have to be mitzamtzem our own egos to the ritzon of Hashem. Afsha guf gashmi, even though we are made of flesh and blood, and we are distant from kedusha insofar as, right, we have the animal souls which are distracting us from all of the needs that we have. So when we nullify, I'm going to use the word nullify here, but really it's when we are able to harness and to not let that part of us, the flesh and blood part, overwhelm the holy part of us. So that is also a bittul and a tzimtzum, and we're able to do Hashem's will. And the same way Hashem will make his will transform so that the will of the world will be transformed in front of us. And I'm going to add one more thing here. I want to talk about sincerity and consistency. That I believe that one of the things that the Sfas Emes is trying to get across here about lo nishtane is consistency and sincerity, that we're doing things with when it comes to serving Hashem, that we aim for these ways of serving God, and not to dampen anybody's enthusiasm. God forbid. If you're enthusiastic, you're inspired, right? Not trying to tamp it down. But I heard a nice thing Rabbi Besser said this week. All these things can go on during the week, and a person could chas v'shalom let it impact their Shabbos. Right, so many different things going on, and of course, nebuch, tragedies and difficulties. But Shabbos is Shabbos. Shabbos is an incredible light and opportunity. So we can't afford lo nishtana. We can't afford to change the quality of our Shabbos because of the basar v'dam, because of the material effect of our world. We have to go beyond it, and we have to work at this. And this is about developing an ability to go beyond. On this Shabbos and every Shabbos, and may we all be blessed to have hishtavos, equanimity, and enthusiasm in our service of Hashem. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos.